Well, hey everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Great to have you with us for this webinar, this ICN webinar on digital strategies to build momentum as you're heading into a launch of a church plant. We're thrilled to have you guys with us. And one of the things that would be really helpful for us that I would love to see, drop into the chat and tell us what church you're with, what town you're from. And I would love to hear why you're interested in this webinar, whether you're a church planner or maybe you're exploring church planning, or maybe you're somebody who supports church planners, whatever the connection is there. That would be awesome for us to hear. So take a minute to drop into that. Drop that info in. While you're doing that, I'll do a quick introduction, and we want to value your time. So we're going to get rolling here really quick. I am Matt Johnson. For those of you who haven't had the pleasure to meet, I am at Journey Church in Murray, Kentucky, which is far western corner of the state. And um, we started this church back in 2005. There was a small group of us who began it. So we're coming up on our 20th year to be doing this. And I'm joined by my good friend, Andy McQuaid, who we go
Hey,
back
hey.
several years now. Hey, Andy. So I'm going to let Andy share a little bit in just a minute about his background. But Andy's got a lot of experience working with church planners, and Andy is currently part of the group that helped create the ICN Church Planner Coaching Program that we run. And I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. If you haven't heard about it, I'll get you some info on that as well. But Andy, thanks for taking a little bit of time here. We're going to jump into some questions for about 15, 20 minutes. I'm going to ask Andy some questions, but we want to hear your questions. They can be around this particular issue or honestly anything church planning related. If you will drop those in the chat, we'll collect them all. And after Andy and I talk here for 15 or 20 minutes, we will answer as many of your questions as we can. So, Andy, first of all, thanks for joining us. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your church and your experience working with church planners?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm super excited to be a part of this conversation. I've been in ministry most of my adult life, and I've been married that entire time. I have three boys and now two daughter-in-laws. And I've been a part of two church plants along the way. I'm currently part of one of those and have been here since 2014. That church started, we started in a movie theater. We were portable for 6 years, just over 6 years. And then we built phase one, and we had that for 6 years. And then we launched phase two. So we added on with a second phase. So we've been both portable, we've navigated trying to get into a permanent facility, and then adding to that permanent facility. Right now, we're one campus, one location, but we have an eye towards reaching further into our community with additional locations. So this is very close to my heart because we're going to be doing it all over again. And then along the way, I got connected to people who were starting up right after we did. So back in 2014, there were questions about, hey, we're getting going. What did you guys learn? What did you guys mess up so that we don't make the same mistakes? And we had a lot of those to share. So that was how I got connected with a lot of people who were trying to get churches off the ground. And at first it was one-to-one, and then there were group calls. And then, as you mentioned, Matt, getting to be a part of the ICN church planting group of that initiative that's kicking off. So that's been a great joy to be a part of those along the way.
That's awesome. All right, let's jump in, Andy, because we have a lot of offline comments or conversations around this kind of thing. So doing this on this webinar will be good. Hopefully it'll be helpful for some of these folks. Before we get into some of these practical digital tools that we can utilize, I want to back up for a minute because the title of this refers to building momentum for your launch. So let's just start. What do we mean by that? And why is building momentum to launch such an important piece of this, Andy?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know the others that are on this webinar, we've all felt momentum. We've all been a part of a group of people or an organization that had momentum. And sometimes it seems nebulous, but it really is an intangible energy. You can feel it. There's an excitement. That excitement generates confidence. And that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to create critical mass to launch a movement in our community. We've got to generate that excitement in the people that are checking us out, curious about whether something new is even necessary. And it's attractive. And so people want to lean into something where there's momentum. But sometimes we think that momentum is just something that happens, but the leader is actually responsible for creating momentum. A lot of that lies with us. And creating momentum, as I said, is attractive, which allows us to launch large, which is something that we really, really encourage. And let me speak to why that is, because sometimes we think, well, I'll just launch with a small group of people, and these are my friends, these are the ones I care about. We'll know each other really well, and if God grows it, God grows it, and that makes a lot of sense. But there is some benefit to stepping in and going, but how big can that group be so that we make the biggest impact for the mission of Jesus that we possibly can? And when you launch large, I guess it's the difference of most of us, if we want to go out back and make s'mores over a campfire, we don't just wait till we get that first couple of embers and it starts to smolder a little bit. We really want a roaring campfire. That's very much what we're trying to do as we launch a church. We want to grow exponentially, not incrementally. And it's just easier to grow when you have launched large. There's a couple of things that happen when you launch large. You attract more volunteers, which you're going to need if you're going to reach your community. You're able to pay your bills, which as a church you kind of want to do. And you're able to garner buy-in versus pushback. Because if you're launching small, everybody has an idea about what should happen in your church. But if you're able to launch large, there's buy-in into the overall mission of your church, and you don't have as many tension conversations along the way if you're able to launch a little bit larger. So in that way, you're able to reach your community with the message of Jesus way quicker, which is ultimately the whole reason you're planning your church.
And we have a lot of experience either directly doing it both ways or helping people who have done it both ways. It can work
Yeah,
either way, but one way is way easier than the other. So that's good advice.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
let's talk practically now. One of the things that I caught that you said there was, hey, it's a leader's responsibility to help build momentum. And the flip side of that is sometimes when God brings momentum, if we're not careful, we'll get in the way and slow it down or kill it. So that's a weight and responsibility we all carry when we're leading. So let's
for
talk
sure.
practically because we don't want that to happen. When it comes to using digital tools to help build momentum, obviously there are a lot more options and opportunities out there now than when we started originally. It's constantly changing. We're still
Yeah.
leveraging a lot of that even today because we find it to be so powerful in terms of connecting with people. So let me ask you this. Just just give us a basic plan. What are some tools you would recommend? How do we think about what tools to use with what groups? What would you say to all that?
Yeah, I think the overriding principle that I would encourage us to think about now and well into the future as our church gets off the ground is that there are different tools for different audiences. We're speaking to different groups of people. And as you're starting your church, you're speaking to your town and then eventually your launch team. And those are different groups of people and you have different conversations. So there are different digital tools for different groups of people. So I think if we think broadly, you can say, hey, there's the community that I live in that I'm trying to reach. And then I hope to boil that down and reach a crowd that has some interest in what we're about. And then I'm going to narrow that crowd down to a group of committed people who want to be part of our launch team. And then within that, there's going to be a core that, hey, there's a leader, there's a leader, there's a leader that I can share this responsibility with. So if we think in terms of those four groups of people, there's different tools that we can leverage.
All right, Andy. So let me just start you on the community side.
Yeah,
What are some tools you would leverage? Because when you're going in to start a church, a lot of times, if you're a planner who's from that area, that's that gives you a bit of an advantage. If you moved into the area, they call it parachuting in, then you're starting from scratch. Either way, you have to build awareness in your community that this church is even going to exist and there's even this opportunity. It's a big
yeah.
challenge with all the noise that's out there anyway. So, what are some tools that you have seen effectively used to help connect your vision, your mission, your new church plant to the community?
Yeah, I think one of the most obvious is to build a website or a landing page. But here's what I would caution: don't put everything about what you hope to become one day on that site, because no one can read it. And inadvertently, we will actually tool our language to all the people who hop from one church to the next to the next. Instead, use that website, maybe a page or two. That's why I say a landing page, um, to define what if there was something different? Imagine if there was something different that looked like this. A phrase that I've leveraged is a church for all people, not just church people. And as you begin to speak in those kind of terms, the dreamers that you're reaching, they go, the early adopters, they go, hey, that's of interest to me. I might be interested in drilling down on that. So with that landing page, what you're trying to capture is their email address, so that, hey, if you're interested in knowing more, enter your email address here, and we'll keep you up to date in periodic connections. So a website or landing page, you can leverage social media for this too. And you can do just some image posts that kind of dream along with people. And then you can leverage YouTube as well to offer some helpful content that says, hey, we want to approach this topic, but maybe a little differently than, and you've offered helpful content, which then causes somebody to go, what is this all about? I might be able to, these people are speaking a language that I would like to speak. I want to know more about what they're leaning in on. One way to land on those topics is to leverage AI. There's a number of them out right now. One of my favorites right now is Perplexity. But using Perplexity to ask, hey, what questions are people asking about this topic? Or if you want to get super granular, to go, hey, what is a 30-year-old mother asking about fear? And then that can help you create some of those YouTube type, just 2-minute helpful video on this topic. There's also digital marketing that I would leverage as I'm reaching the community. You can leverage social media and create advertisements that are driven by location. So within 25 miles of your city center, and you can narrow that, expand that, so that you're reaching your target audience. You can also leverage some tools that place ads on the pages your target audience is looking at. So people in your zip code looking at a news site or a shopping site, all of a sudden a dreaming ad, what if, appears on their page. There's a tool called, I think it's called AdRoll, that can help you do that within your zip code, within some areas. Some of them have fees. There may be another tool that doesn't have a fee to doing that. But that is something that I would encourage you to consider. And here's the kind of our default is, oh, I'll just use Google AdWords, and then I'll end up in front of everyone. But the world is changing, and fewer people use search engines. They are doing their searches in their favorite AI tool, which allows them to go see some of the sites. Some of the AI allows you to do that, some of them don't yet. But by using those tools, they're missing out on the Google AdWords, which is why you need to actually advertise on the sites they're landing on. And then very simply, if you want to do it without any money at all, use social media and become part of the local groups, your local yard sale group on Facebook or something. And you can post a post there that would highlight, hey, we're starting something new. What if there was something that you might resonate with? And that all of those serve to go, hey, there's something new coming in our community. And if you're interested, let us know here.
Yeah, that's really good, Andy. And when you take all of those and you link them strategically and you're consistent with them over and over again, we've seen a lot of positive. And that may have created, you gave a lot of good stuff. So if you have questions around any of that Andy just said, drop it in the chat. We will get to as many of them as we can. Here's what I want to do, Andy. So you start doing all this stuff that you just talked about, and it causes you find people who reach out to you through your website, through social media, whatever, and they say, "Hey, I'm interested in learning more." So they've just moved out of the community group. What group are they moving into, and what do you do with them now?
Yeah, I would refer to them as the crowd because they're not in this broad group. They've kind of narrowed a little bit, but they're still just one of many. We hope, right? We want to attract as many as possible with asking some questions. So I would add them to an email list, something like Mailchimp, where you can send an email periodically. And as you first get started, you're not going to want to hit that, every day of the week. But as you get closer and closer to launch, getting into a consistent rhythm of staying in touch with those who are in that crowd, but leveraging that MailChimp to say, hey, here's what's coming. Here's how far we've gotten. I just want to send you a general update. That's not where you would drop the number of committed dollars or anything like that. But just, hey, if this got out and somebody published it in the newspaper, that's not a bad thing. So using that email list. The other thing that you can do is you can leverage YouTube still, but encourage them in your email. Hey, become a subscriber on our YouTube channel. And then you can publish a promo update. Hey, here's what's happened. And then there's a box you can check that allows all of your subscribers to get updated when you've posted a new video. And that way you've been able to provide that update to those who said, yeah, I'm kind of curious. And so as you get your early adopters right out at the outset, but there's going to be others that kind of sit and they're lurkers. They're just watching to see, hey, is this going to make? I'm not going to embarrass myself. Let's see how far this goes. Now you've got a way to communicate with them on your way towards a healthy launch.
Okay, so let's talk about the next group. You got somebody who's starting to explore this now, right? What is the next group? How you communicate to them a little differently?
Yeah, those are the committed. Those are people that have said, "Hey, we're excited about what you're doing, and we want to have a part in it, and we're gonna show up. We're gonna be part of this." Now, from the time they say that to the time you launch your church is probably several months. Hopefully, you've got some people that buy in early on, but they're going to be all at different stages as you move towards your launch. So you can leverage a couple of different tools. One would be private pages, so like or private groups, like within Facebook. You can build a closed group that you're just adding people to that have said, "Hey, I'm committed to this," and you can provide some more clear posts to them in that group, or you can leverage private pages on your website. So you've still got these dreaming pages, these here's what we hope to create pages, but then there's a section that they link to directly where you've said, hey, for those of you who are a part of this, here's where we're at, here's what we're working on, here's what we're doing next weekend, so that they've got some better ideas. You can segment your email list. MailChimp lets you do that, so you're targeting a group. Another way to do that is if you leave your website entirely for people who are investigating, but then you launch an app for those who are inside, people who are already committed. And so you communicate two different things to two different groups of people. And depending how far you've gotten towards your launch, some church management software lets you begin to email your committed group directly from within inside that. And many of the church management softwares provide some easy on ramps when you're just getting started, so you're not shelling out a whole pile of money.
Okay, that's great. Now, you mentioned four groups, I think. So give us, most of us are like, Man, if we got a launch team, we feel amazing. Uh, you're saying there's another group beyond that. Give us what that group is and how you communicate with them.
Yeah, that last group is what I'm describing as the core. But these are people that you would look to and go, I see some leadership ability in them. I see some influence in them. They're tracking with me more closely, and I can entrust responsibility to them. They're leading teams of other people who are part of the committed and eager to help this thing launch, because you can't do this by yourself. And if you're launching at scale, then you're going to need other leaders who are leading groups of people in different areas. And then you're coordinating those leaders. So that's where I would leverage text groups, because now you're able to text those leaders. And here's what I would caution. I would be hesitant to give out your personal number to all of those people, because one day your church is going to grow, and more people have your personal number. There's some apps out there that let you leverage a church texting number, so that you're able to text back and forth, but it's a separate app on your phone. So you're not also getting messages from your wife and kids in the same app. It's something we provide to our staff, so that they can go on vacation and not still have to manage church stuff once it's launched. But the people that still have our personal numbers, sometimes go way, way, way back to the launch days. Then you can leverage Zoom meetings like we're doing right now. That's not a strange tool to any of us anymore. As you gather people together before they head to work or whatever it is they're tackling that week, as you're talking about some of the launch steps you need to take with that core. And then Google provides some really helpful tools that you're able to leverage as well within a Google suite, as you start to look towards how do we create my email that actually matches my domain name versus whatever email you set up when you were 17.
That's good. And you also answered a mystery for me. I've always wondered why you would only text me back between 9 and 5. I now know I only have your church number. You've never let me have a personal one. So, Um, hey,
That's not true.
two things real quick, and I want to get to their questions. If you have questions, start dropping them in the chat. Make sure it says everyone, that you're dropping them into everyone so we can see them. So Andy, two quick things. We can't spend a lot of time on this, but can you do a quick run through of everything you just said for these four crowds that you use digital tools for? We coach church planners on pairing physical tools with these
Yeah.
digital tools for each crowd. Just give a quick overview, maybe take 2 minutes and talk them through some ideas around that. And if they have more questions, then we'll dig in during Q&A.
Yeah. Probably one of the biggest ones, Matt, would be finding some way to endear yourself to your community, to become missable. If you're going to be a new church in your area, how are you engaged in your community? And I'd suggest two ways as you're launching. First would be to serve some nonprofit, adopt one nonprofit and say, hey, when they do their biggest things, we're going to show up and we're going to be a part of that. Because that gives your people who are interested a way to see you at work and to connect with you as they become part of the committed. The other thing is to participate in community events. Most of our events, or our communities, large and small, they have a community fair or some sort of get-togethers where most of the area converges. Be a part of the fabric of that. Get a booth, set up a tent, give something away, because it gives people an opportunity to go, wait, who are you people? And if you can create a non-churchy brand around that, some have used the word for and then their community. That's what you do, Matt, and many, many others. Jeff Henderson was brilliant at putting that together. For us, we use the phrase lovin'. We happen to live in a lake community, so we use the phrase lovin' the lake country. And that is our outward facing brand. So people walk up to us and they're like, wow, this thing you gave us is amazing. Who are you people? And it gives us a chance to dream with them for just a minute. I would start there. Then you have interest meetings for people who are like, "What? Tell me more." Hey, come to this event. We're going to serve some dessert. Maybe it's in somebody's home. Maybe you borrow the meeting room at the library or the hotel. Talk about what you're dreaming of, and then you can move towards preview services that you would hold just prior to launch. But I wouldn't host any more than about 6 of those. and you would space those out really close to launch so that you're building momentum. And we can talk more about that. But those three kinds of tangible in-person experiences would be key to pairing with your digital.
Oh, that's helpful. That's really helpful. All right. Any last thoughts, any last recommendations you have for folks?
No, I think my biggest thing is remember that you use different tools to communicate with different audiences. Churches forgot that during COVID and embarrassed themselves in many ways as they put their business meetings on social media. But as we launch a church, leveraging those different tools. But I think here's my encouragement. We live in a day and age that digital tools make launching a church easier than it's ever been. Now, there's other things that make it harder, but those digital tools, they are at your disposal. I imagine the Apostle Paul like going bonkers if he was like, "You mean I don't have to get on a boat?" And like, this is incredible. So I think we should have a sense of excitement around the tools that we've got access to. So it's hard work, but it's worth it, and we've got some incredible tools.
Oh, that's great. That was really helpful, Andy. Thanks for sharing. I want to toss a couple questions your way here in just a minute, and if people
Okay.
want to keep dropping them in, they can. Real fast, so before I do, two quick updates for all of you who have taken the time to join us. One is our next webinar is going to be May 14th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to talk about building a committed and effective launch team. So we're going to take a piece of what Andy was just talking about in terms of digital, but we're going to drill down into how you build a launch team who really can help you get off to a healthy start and launch. And this is a key. A sustainable church is making the impact you want to make. So be sure to mark your calendars for that. You'll get an email about it. You can go to irresistible.church/webinars right now and register, and then you'll get reminders so you don't forget it. So feel free to do that. Also, just a quick reminder that we have a church planner coaching program that's a 3-year program. Andy is a part of it. He helped to create it. We're coaches in it, both of us are. This is a program where we put a cohort of church planners together each month, but we also assign them one-on-one coaches, and we start coaching them through everything they need to know leading up to launch. So all of the stuff you've heard Andy talk about today, we talk about in more detail, and we help them contextualize it and develop it for their specific community and situation. And then we coach them post-launch for a couple of years and make sure they get off to a great start and they can get the leadership in place they need and they navigate some of those early barriers. So if you want to learn more about that, irresistible.church/church-plant. You can go there. It's easy for you to learn a little bit more. If you want to have questions or want to have a conversation, there's a place there at that website where you can let us know, and we would love just to answer your questions and have a conversation. Okay, Andy, let me run through a few rapid fire questions for you here. The first one's really tactical. I believe Holly asked it. You talked about when you're talking about digital tools for I believe it's for the community. You talked about a specific tool, and she was trying to catch the name. Was it Adwell or what? What did you call that? Where do they find that?
Add roll. AD, I've written it down so I didn't mess it up. ADROLL. So
Okay,
add roll, all one word.
Adroll.
But
They
yeah,
can
that
just search
website.
that and find the
Yeah,
website. Okay, awesome. All right, here's a question. How much money do I need to budget to spend on digital marketing?
all of it.
You don't have enough.
Yeah, I think what that's going to be very, very subjective based on your area, based on what your other expenses are as you're looking to launch. But if you don't have people who share your mission and vision, you're not going to get this church off the ground. So as you are looking at those initial expenses, this is something that you would spend more on towards the beginning because you're trying to make contacts. As you get a little more critical mass alongside you, people who have moved to the committed, then they are going to become your raving fans, and they're going to become part of what spreads this even broader. But initially, it's just you, and you can only talk with so many. So I would spend more money than less there, and just mindful of frankly, whoever spends the most gets the most market share. And so using that and using that wisely. But there's not a specific dollar amount that I know. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
What you can, but it doesn't honestly take a ton of money. I mean, even to this day, it's not a huge line item in our budget. It's not massive. You can, if you do it wisely, and you gave some great examples, you can get big return for relatively minimum investment. So that's good.
Let me give you an example. I've
Yeah,
used
go ahead.
at Easter time. At Easter time, used $500 to get 70,000 social media impressions in 2 days leading up to Easter that targeted a broad area, but our target market. And so it was very, very economical.
Oh, that's really good. Okay, to piggyback off of that, Andy, Ben had a question. This has probably been a webinar in itself that we should do, but Andy, I'll let you do a quick flyover on this. What are good barometers for knowing, for moving people from crowd to committed, or committed to core? Like, just give some initial thoughts on how you know when somebody's really ready and you invest more in them.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So the community, that's everybody. Your crowd is the people that have kind of raised their hand. They've given you their email address. They've maybe filled out a card as you were giving something away in town at an event. They've expressed some interest in you, or maybe told a buddy they were interested. So they're kind of in this curious group. They move to committed as they've come to maybe an interest meeting, and you've been able to unpack, here's what we're about. And we encourage people who come to those interest meetings to take a step. And not all of them will, but we ask them to actually indicate, I'm interested, I want to know more, or hey, I'm committed to this. Because we are not just randomly hoping we get enough names. We are actually inviting them to indicate a commitment, fill out a commitment card that says, hey, I'm going to be a part of this for the next 2 years. I'm going to serve, I'm going to give, I'm going to invest in what's happening. I'm going to invite my friends to be a part of this because I believe in your unique mission. So that's when they move into core. We wouldn't move them in there before that, or into committed, sorry. And then the core, you would kind of identify that. That's reading the room and identifying, okay, who among them has clearly got influence and leadership and shares this mission with me.
That's good. And I just want to highlight what you said. You have to develop clarity around what you expect from people at each of those levels. And when you have that clarity, it makes it much simpler to communicate, here's what I'm asking from you. But it also makes it easier for you to know, hey, they're in this group or they're not in this group. So
And
that's
how
really,
far along you are.
that's
How close am I to being able to launch? You got a bunch of curious people, you're not ready to launch. If you have a bunch of attenders, hey, I'll show up if you run something, you're not ready to launch. You've got to have people that will help it happen.
yeah, that is great. All right, one more question on that. So let's talk about what we mean by launching large. How large is large enough? And when do they know, when it comes to numbers, when do they know, okay, we can have a green light here to go public and start meeting weekly?
Yeah. Um, this is going to vary based on community size. The smaller your community, the less likely you're going to be able to hit these specific metrics. But there is something that we've noticed, and that is once you get past roughly 200 people, things move more quickly, they move easier, and you are able to reach your community more effectively. In order for that to happen, you've got to go back to, well, what does that launch team look like? How many do I have in my committed? And what we encourage you to consider is however many you have in that committed, they will invite somewhere around 2 to 3x of that size to be there on your launch Sunday. So if you have 100 who are committed, then you can expect 2 to 300 on launch day. If you have 10 committed, you can expect 20 to 30 there on launch day. So just recognizing that ratio. But who you have on launch day is not who is now the new committed at your church, because within 1 month of launching, you will drop back to about half of who you had on launch day. So let's say you have 100 people, they invite up to 300 people show up for launch day. By within a month, you'll be at 150 that are kind of your regular attenders. So recognizing the bare minimum of where you want to be is roughly 100 regular attenders. If you're hoping to reach your community, you really have to think back to, okay, that means I've got somewhere around at least 50 people, 50 to 75 people in my launch team. Ideally, you're aiming for about 100 adults in your launch team, and that's key too, because you have a family of 7 that they're not all going to count towards your serving launch team.
No, that's good. And we understand, you said at the beginning, this is very contextual to the community. There are somebody sitting there going, but aren't there exceptions to the rule? Of course there are exceptions. You
100%.
can point out exceptions. I have been an exception, so I get
Yeah.
that. We're not saying God can't and doesn't do a lot of other stuff, but we have seen a general trend and principle over the
Yeah.
years with all of them we've worked with. And the last thing I would add to that, or just highlight what you said, the reason we coach church planners to get that launch team, that committed group as large as they can, is because the more people you settle in at after you've launched, the larger that number is, the less growth barrier and struggles you're going to have to deal with. Getting over the hump of some of those early growth barriers is really, really painful and stressful and strenuous. And if you can blow through 2 growth barriers, 3 growth barriers when you launch, you just saved yourself a lot of heartache. So Andy, that's terrific advice. I appreciate you sharing all that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay, we're gonna wrap up. Let me remind you again, a couple things. Next webinar, building a committed and effective launch team. That is coming up May 14th, which is a Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to register for that. Matt Brown is going to be with us. He's got some incredible insights on this. And then don't forget, if you want info or want to learn more about our church planter coaching program that we have, we would love to have a conversation with you. You can find a lot on the website. Just check that out, irresistible.church/church-plant. You guys have an awesome day. We'll see you next month. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.